It's the things that you do, and it's the smile on your face. And as time goes by, I know I'm in a better place. I'm in a better place.
Hello, Detroit. What up, though, to the world, okay? Thank you for joining us, Jay McCray Style Show. I am your host, Jennifer McCray. Again, we are here to talk about resilience. We are here to talk about what it looks like to win and be a winner. Today, we're going to talk about some etiquette. How do we relate to people? How do we relate to one another in relationship? And what does it look like to do that with some class, with some dignity, and be proper? We're going to talk to Nicole Beecher today. And I mean, she has a lot that she has accomplished here. So I had to get my notes, okay? Multilingual, multicultural. She has shaped an etiquette curriculum, crafted an etiquette curriculum. She coaches executive leaders on the boards of some transformative things in the community, technology and development. And she's affectionately known as the uncommon common denominator, okay? A woman who leads with kindness, strategy, and vision. Miss Nicole Beecher and I had a very good conversation, and I welcome her to the Jay McCray Style Show. And we're going to learn a lot today. So just make sure that your ears are tuned in because we're ready to learn. Welcome, Miss Nicole Beecher.
Thank you.
You welcome. I'm so happy you made it here.
Well, thank you. I'm so honored to be here. And first of all, thank you for reaching out. I really enjoyed our conversation, and I really appreciate the work that you're doing. I love your set. It's absolutely gorgeous and just so pretty. But the other part is that you are making a difference, and you're showcasing some great talent, some great movers and shakers in the community, and those who need a voice. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that's important. That's important for us to be uplifted, encouraged, inspired. And the best way I've learned for myself to stay uplifted is to actually open up my mind, open up my mouth, and have conversations.
Absolutely.
Real conversations, warm, welcoming conversations, not competitive,
Absolutely.
Not any of the other things. But hey, how are you? What are you up to? And the hey, how are you can lead to so many other things and open up so many doors. Try this door out.
Absolutely.
So thank you again for coming.
You're welcome.
Multilingual, multicultural. Can you tell us a little bit about who Nicole Beecher is?
I'm a person of compassion. Learned through life experiences about compassion. Nicole is a person who I get things done. Right?
Get things done.
I am a person who has a lot of faith, who really truly believes that if you really work towards a goal, that it's achievable. In that, you may break some barriers, you may create some new paths, but I do believe that I believe the power of perseverance and faith really can resonate in your life in a way that changes your trajectory. I'm a kind person, but I'm also a very confident person, not arrogant,
right?
But I am confident. But I think that I am the way that I am because I, from a very young age, really was just, given lots of responsibility that required me to dig deep. In some cases, even deeper, right? And also put on some paths that may have been paths that I walked alone, but they, instilled lessons that have shaped who I am throughout life. The other part is, I think the fact that, I believe and know that because my background is multidisciplinary, it really shapes me into believing, that you can become What people say, either you can't or don't believe is true.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I think those things that I mentioned are those things that make up who I am. The other part of it is, when I was growing up, I was a nerd. And so probably some of the things that, some of my friends didn't think were so cool, for some of my other friends we thought were awesome. So I'm just I'm a lifelong learner as well. It doesn't matter how much I know today.
Right.
I always say I don't know, because the world is so large.
The world is so large and ever changing.
And there's always something to learn.
There's always something to learn. I heard you say that you're kind, and then you paused and said, I'm confident. I read somewhere, or maybe I was listening to Myron Golden. There's a difference between kindness and nice. And we don't want to be too nice. And it had me go to the dictionary and look these two words up. Nice can sometimes cause you to allow people to overrun you, people please, even in an effort to be nice. But kindness is more about courtesy and respect.
Absolutely.
And dignity. And when I think about etiquette and the conversation that we had an in-depth conversation about, even I told you I had to let some friends go. So well, maybe you looked at it wrong. Maybe I did. I don't know. I was in receivership of what you were saying. And sometimes when we're having a conversation with people, to be kind, to be dignified, to be courteous, and actually listen to what the other person is saying without being combative or without being ran over. And just, okay, whatever you say, right? They say that's being too nice. Heard that term, too nice. You said also too that you experienced some bullying in your childhood.
I experienced bullying. Interestingly, I have experienced bullying as an adult, but the difference is today, of course, I manage those situations very differently.
Yeah.
Okay. And, when you're growing up and maybe you don't think the same. Maybe your opinion is not the same. Maybe some of the things that you enjoy are not, what some of the people that you hang out with enjoy. Sometimes people can bully you into believing, or not even believing, into feeling, not as confident about the things that you like and that you enjoy. But the other part of bullying happens when maybe you have been successful at the things that you're doing, and maybe the things that you're doing are leaving an imprint. Right. And so sometimes I find that some individuals may bully because they want the attention, or it's almost the feeling of, well, how dare you do something that I haven't done, or who are you to think that you're confident enough or skilled enough to do that. And I think about a conversation I had with a friend. And, she said, and we grew up together. And one of the things she said to me, she was like, yeah, we both experienced bullying, but look at us today.
Right.
Like, do you think that helped us?
Toughen you up a little bit.
And I said, I kind of think maybe it did, right? I said, but I think the other part of it is, I think we learned the lesson and we understand where that spirit comes from, right? Yeah. I believe that each and every one of us have something unique and different that should be celebrated, that is important. Bullies, when they're challenged, most often, right? If you really challenge the core of a bully, I have found most to kind of either back down or change directions. Yeah. And also, when you're confident, and that's where confidence comes in. It's not that I'm arrogant. I don't have the spirit that says, it's my way or no way, but I do know, right, that I'm confident in the things that I know, that I understand, and my skill set and my capabilities and my capacity. And I think sometimes bullies haven't dug deep enough, or they don't have comfortability with themselves to dig deep enough to say, these are some things that maybe I need to improve, instead of making fun of someone else about.
I'm going to mention this too. I have a children's book coming out, Adventures of Dancing Joshua. We talk about bullies. And usually bullies are coming from a place of hurt. Like all that anger and just mean girl ways it's coming from a place of hurt, a place of lack, I think, for the most part. And if you challenge it or stand up to it, or just have a real one-to-one conversation about what might actually be going on, it subsides some of that hurt and some of that anger. I want to ask you, now we have so many different cultures. I mean, America is full of all these different cultures. Right here in Detroit, though, it seems like over the pandemic, we got an influx of so many different cultures. What is it like as an etiquette coach or etiquette teacher to address or be mindful of someone else's culture and being respectful in that way?
So cultural etiquette and communication is one of my most favorite classes. So, for me, it's not difficult for me to articulate the importance of respecting culture. But what I can say is that most often individuals during that segment of either charm school or a portion of, finishing school, they don't realize how they have impacted someone else by not respecting their cultural beliefs.
Yeah.
And it could be something as simple as a head dressing. It could be simple as simple, as a conversation piece or something that they're eating. What I find is that most people are unaware that they have crossed the boundary because they haven't taken enough time to explore another culture. The reality is this: we are a melting pot. We live in America. It is a melting pot. And so at some point, right, we should be taking the time to learn about people first.
I think it's a privilege. At first I was kind of like, I'm not gonna lie. At first I was like, there's so many other cultures. Where are my people? Where is my community at? Where are my people? Even here, like, I live outside of the city of Detroit. Now, I was raised in Detroit. And the high school that I went to, all the schools that I went to, there were majority African American and majority Black. And it was a sprinkle of a few white and Asian here and there. Now my son is in school and he goes to school with majority Indian and Bengali. There's a lot of Asian, but there's not very many African Americans. And so he says to me, Mommy, I want to go to school with people more like us. I says, oh, that's great, son. I said, but isn't it a great opportunity to get to learn about people from all over the world? So I think there's a worldwide culture here right in the United States that if we open up our minds more, we can grasp, enjoy, and embrace these other cultures. So where we feel international even.
Well, so I believe what you said is really a good opportunity for, and I'm not sure what school your son attends right now, but I think it's a good opportunity to seek out organizations that are African American or supported organizations so that he feels welcome in his space. I think what happens is, and not I think I know what happens is, there are many other cultures, they are very close knit, right? And so they spend time together. Well, why? Because same culture, same cultural beliefs, and it's understandable. But I think for your son, what I'm hearing you say is, he's now become uncomfortable because he feels like he may be the minority in an environment where there's diversity, right? So I would seek out organizations for him specifically. The other part is they have organizations most often in schools that actually welcome you in to learn about the culture. So one of the main things that I do when teaching cultural etiquette and communication after teaching the class is I introduce individuals to the culture. So for example, someone may tell me, well, I'm going to Japan. Just today, actually, one of my robotics students said, hey, I'm going to Japan. So I'm going, I don't know anything. I said, and I asked him, I said, well, do you know how to eat with chopsticks? Well, no. Do you know anything about the culture? I said, well, you know what? Before you leave, I will make sure that you've been introduced to the culture. I'll teach you how to eat with chopsticks. I'll teach you some of the words, right? So that you at least feel comfortable before you get there. A lot of what happens is we can become so comfortable in our own culture or surroundings until when we're put in a space where now there are others it's, well, wait a minute, this is very different.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. It is an opportunity. And I always say it's an opportunity for you to learn about the world, right?
Absolutely.
Because there is a difference. But one of the main pieces is, and I'll get back to bullying, right? One of the main pieces that we sometimes forget is some of the young people in other cultures have been bullied about their culture.
Absolutely.
So there are situations where maybe some people may not feel as welcome, but that's because they've been bullied about some of the things that they may believe, or maybe the attire that they wear. It's an opportunity for us to learn why that is, right? To say, wow, well, these are the foods that you eat, or maybe you don't eat a certain type of food. Well, can you explain what that's about?
Yes.
It's a great conversation starter and a great opportunity for you to realize, no, it's not that they don't think that you're important. This is just a part of their culture.
Exactly.
Does that make sense?
But everybody is important,
Absolutely.
right? And where they come from is important. And I was telling him, it's important for us to make friends. So just as you greeted with a hi or hello, how may we say hi or hello in Vietnamese or in Bangladesh? How may you just say hi? And like you said, asking those questions about how they dress and what they eat. It's really just you getting to know your friend. And if you want to get to know your friend or make them a friend, hopefully we want to make friends and make comrades and network. And we're going to have to work with all different kinds of cultures. Take time out to say, hey, I want to learn a little bit about you and what makes you you. And I think that bonds you in a way that really, really matters for you to say, hey, you matter. And I want to get to know you. I want to be a friend to you. I want to say hello to you in your language because we are important. And we want to feel important. We want to feel validated. And there are a lot of people here that are away from their families.
Absolutely.
They are away from their children or away from their parents. And a lot of people, a lot of the kids even, they don't know the language. And so the bullying, the feeling misplaced, my son has, like you said, felt that feeling. There's in Oakland County, a group called Mothers of Black Boys in Oakland County, which is a great group. And I've also signed him up for some other extracurricular activities where he's around other African American children. And I think that is important for him to not only embrace his own culture, but realize we live in a whole big old world. And I know plenty of people that's never been off the block. Okay, let's embrace these new cultures and embrace the world that we're living in right now. What inspired you to go into etiquette, though?
So before I opened Beecher Etiquette School, I actually taught etiquette and social graces. My mother was a debutante, so etiquette was taught in home.
Okay.
So I still remember walking up and down the stairs with the books on your head. Like, it was just something that we experienced. But the other part is, and I tell this story, and I think it kind of shocks people a little bit, but I was sitting in Arabic class in high school, and I sat there and said, you know what? I'm going to open an etiquette school one day because I'm beginning to see that some of the opportunities that I've had and some of my experiences aren't experiences that everyone has had,
right,
or have been privy to. And I dedicate that to my mother and my granny and that. But my goal was like, hey, you know what? I'm going to open a school, in honor of my mom and, in memory. Well, at the time it wasn't in memory of my grandmother, but in memory of my grandmothers. And so in 2018, I opened a school, and I think it was almost like, you know what? I finally did it. Although I was teaching etiquette and social graces long before that. But it was more of, at that time, my granny was 95. And I promised her, so I was like, Granny, you've got to hold on a minute.
Yes.
And so she actually passed that year, but she was older. And I said, you know what? Before this year ends, this is going to happen. But the flip side to that was, there is such an urgent need, right, for our young people and even some of our adults, right, to really understand that there is etiquette in everything that we do. often people mention dining etiquette. That's just
One
a
form of
small
it.
piece of the importance of etiquette,
Yes.
right? There's etiquette in a business setting. There's etiquette in an academic setting. There is etiquette in the way you do business and the way you manage business.
Right.
There's etiquette in relationships. You spoke about cultural etiquette. Well, when we talk about culture, we've done a lot of business with what? China and other countries. Well, what is the proper way to greet, gentlemen, men, a man as a woman, when you're dealing with someone from China. The other
Yes.
part of that is, how are we respecting individuals that are different? So that for me was like a major moving piece. And then the other part was communication etiquette. How do we talk to each other? How do we even understand that we've offended one another?
Right.
So it was really those pieces. And when I opened in December 2018, if you think about the time period, the generations have changed.
Yes.
There was a time where etiquette was taught in every household. It was a standard part of education. And once I began to see just how critically needed it was, aside from my grandma, my granny, it was important for me to say, you know what? Not only, can I open an etiquette school, but I have the background, having years in leadership, having, years in training and development. And as a business owner, this is needed. The time is now. Let me get this done. And that's really what happened.
What was one of the challenges that you faced in building your business?
Staffing is always challenging.
Okay.
The other, one of the other major challenges when I initially opened Beecher Etiquette School was there were some challenges with parents. Some of the parents didn't understand why it was so critically needed until a door was closed because one of their children acted inappropriately, right?
Yeah.
And then it was, wait a minute, I think we need some etiquette and social graces. Another challenge was, I started the school with my own funding. So it wasn't like, oh, it's a lot of money out here to open an etiquette school. We are a private school. So the thought was, well, who funds an etiquette school? Well, an etiquette school that doesn't just offer standard etiquette training, right?
Yes.
The other challenge really also, had been proximity, because I wanted to serve not just one location, but I wanted to be accessible to students throughout the state, as well as the country. So those were just some of the initial challenges, but we've overcome those.
I want you all to take just a moment here. She named probably about 10 different challenges, but that's great because the message and the lesson here is that there will continue to be challenges as we grow. As we grow, there's going to be new questions to come up. How do I get this started? How do I make this grow? And then how do I reach more people? So that's awesome.
Thank you.
The vision that you've had, you teach in the classroom and you're on a board, right?
I'm on some different boards. I prefer not to name all of them, but yes,
Okay.
I do sit on nonprofit boards as well as organizations that are for profit. Yes, I do.
Okay. So I just want to make sure here. I don't normally go through I want to ask this. We just talked about etiquette and how important it is. Sometimes, I know for me, I used to think everybody thinks like I do. So it's not a big deal. Okay. If I do something and you don't necessarily understand it, I wasn't doing it maliciously. So why are you so upset? Well, that could be disrespectful to somebody else's culture.
Absolutely.
And you could just not know that what you're doing is inappropriate in that time and in that space. What is one lesson of etiquette when you want to ask someone or you're going into a new room? What's one major lesson that you want to teach to the people today?
Before you enter the room, study your audience so that you understand who you're speaking to and who you're meeting with. When you go on a job interview, you study the company, or you should.
You should.
To find out the history, the key players, the revenue, the culture.
The culture.
Because every company has a culture. before you enter the room, before you sit at the table, before you request access, know who you're playing with, know who you're working with, understand the things that may be considered offensive.
Yes. I didn't start asking myself those questions until I was in my 30s. It was just a job for me. It wasn't I really didn't start building my career, my brand, and my life for myself until I was in my 30s. So I think it's important too that we realize the life that we're building for ourselves requires some research, right? Some research into the rooms that we are sitting in, the tables that we want to be invited to, and the people that we're sitting across. It's good to be prepared when you're walking into a room and be intentional.
You mentioned intentionality is key. You know, before, so I do teach students, and I'll give an example. Before I met my new robotics class today, I studied the demographics of the
Each
class.
student, yeah.
I wanted to understand the students. I wanted to understand the cultures, so that if there was something specific that I needed to pay homage to or respect, that I did that. I think the other thing is it's a form of general respect, just like general courtesies.
Yes.
So in addition to, you know, understanding, okay, this is a specific grade, what it really says is I thought enough of you to find out about you, right? And in those moments,
That
you
goes a
have an
long
opportunity.
way.
It does go a long way, and you also have the opportunity to say, because I'll say this to some people. I said, you know, so that I best understand how to be a good friend to you.
Yes.
Please
that's
express to me
good.
some things that might upset you. And
That's
although for some people, you know, they may think, well, I don't think I need to ask that. I think you do. I believe you
That's
do.
leading with heart. That's leading with intention to win or be good at being this person's friend.
Right. Well, and when we talk about culture, you know, when you're talking with someone, if you don't know, if you haven't had the opportunity to do the research, it's, you know, Jen, there are some things that are very different than my culture. I've never experienced those things.
Right.
Please tell me a little bit more about it if you can share.
If you can share.
Because or if you feel comfortable sharing with me. I just want to ensure that I don't offend you in some way. Something as simple as that, it really goes a long way.
It does. It does. Thank you so much, Nicole. This
welcome.
was so informative. And I think it's important, not just for the African American community, but for all communities. We have to live amongst each other here in the United States. We are a melting pot. And it's so important that we live with dignity, honor, and respect towards one another as we continue to grow, as we aspire to travel, right? I want to see the world. I got a lot of girlfriends going to Dubai. The way they treat women over there and the way they view women over there is different than how we are here in the United States.
It's a beautiful place. I've been there.
Yes, right? So we want to humble ourselves in a way where we can receive information, receive knowledge, and grow. So thank you so much, Nicole. This was a great interview.
You're very welcome.
Yay!
Thank you.
Okay, see y'all next time. Peace.
It's the things that you do.